Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to another installation of viewer submitted videos. Note they are viewer submitted, not user submitted. I don't know why the hell I called them that. Probably a callback to my chosen profession. We've got a lot of cool invasions today. I'm going to change the format just a little bit. I'm going to be breaking these down in more detail. I realized in the earlier installments, I was really having to rush through to try and talk about as many things as I wanted to hit. I'm going to be slowing the videos down, in some cases playing them more than once, and pausing the video at appropriate places to talk about things that I've noticed. Here you can see me getting absolutely mollywopped by Gabri. I'm just including this to show that we all have things to learn. I did just about everything wrong you could conceivably do in this fight. So let's get to the invasions. So I'm not very good at build construction. I've mentioned that before. So I'm really not going to have a lot to say, I think, in the future about these builds. I'm just going to let other people who are much better at this comment on what they see here. Instead, I think I'll just tell you a little bit of what Kallah shared with me. This is his invasion video and his build. He said that he was frustrated due to the passive nature of his opponents and the tools they had to punish him. He said, mostly I'm curious to see how you would have approached this fight using a similar weapon setup. So I think one of the calls here is Kallah's not necessarily interested in feedback along the lines of use different weapons, and I totally understand that. So I'll try to focus most of my feedback on the current setup. So obviously here it's a 2v1. This party stopped outside the knights here. They don't want to aggro the knights. Right there we see we've got a caster, the Sunbro. That's a problem, especially with an Ultra. Trying to fight two guys here when one of them can punish you at range. It reminds me of what Skitter said about threat spacing and the difficulty of trying to punish people when one of them is at range. Essentially means he can hit you from anywhere. I like the approach here with the shivs, and I think it was worth eating those R1s from the host in an attempt to put him down. But we see here there's a blue on the way, and you bought some time there, likely due to your untrue dark ring. He probably thought you were the host. At this point, in my view, this situation is completely untenable. You cannot afford to fight out here any longer, especially with 3 players. It was bad before with the 1 caster. We're going to see here in a moment that the blue is a caster as well. And so I would have taken this fight down the road, probably into the next room with the knights. If they use a seed, you can drag the knights out here with them. I think tactically this is a bad spot. Now back here, you can safely heal, but if they all decide to come rush you as a team, there's almost nothing you can do. You probably won't even be able to roll past them. Now I do think you're doing about as good a job as you can given the circumstances. But with like your Ultra here, even though the big value of it is big trades, like right there, I thought you did a really good job and got some good trades. There you were only able to swing once. You weren't able to effectively leverage the trade because of the threats all around you. So you've got to keep your head on a swivel. And here, I see the Sunbro going down for what looks like a soothing sunlight. You probably had time to punish it here, but it's arguable whether you really did or not. But at a minimum, that's some very useful information that he wants to use soothing sunlight to heal. Whether that was for him or for the host is hard to say. I love that mix up there. I thought that was really nice. But unfortunately, because again of the ranged pressure, you got punished for it. I think given your decision to stand out here and try to contest, I think you're doing a pretty good job. I like the idea of hiding behind that kind of hump in the ground and chucking firebombs where they can't retaliate. They're obviously not going to want to pursue you because of the angel. I would, again, definitely take this fight down the road. Worst case, if you get impatient and they don't follow, you can always come back out here and go back to the same position. There's really nothing to be lost. I would definitely think about doing that. And you can see there, it looked to me like the Sunbro was trying to bait a trade there with that high power miracle. And man, that Black Serpent is tough when you're in a confined area like that. It's very difficult to avoid. You see, he keeps trying to bait trades with you. You're doing a really good job, though, of not taking the bait. And here I noticed something. The Sunbro is like throwing miracle after you, which to me means he probably has a lot of Ashen Estus, which also means he probably doesn't have very much healing Estus. So this guy probably is the weak link in the chain. He's probably been healing the host up until this point, so the host probably has all his Estus. So to me, the Sunbro is the person I would be going after to the extent that you can. Now, I understand that in the current environment, you can't really pick on one player because the other players will immediately come after you and try to flank you. So obviously you're out of Estus. You use the Blessing. I also really like Snap Freeze. I think Snap Freeze is a really great low-cost utility spell to try to motivate parties. I'm a huge fan of that. I think you mentioned you have Dark Edge as well. I'm not really good at casting, so I don't really have a whole lot to say about using that. And notice here, the Sunbro was already down health by like over a third. Now 2/3 of his health are gone. We've already seen that he wants to use miracles to heal. I would have tried to keep an eye on this guy and pressure him, because had you done that, you would have been able to punish that Soothing Sunlight that he was about to cast. So reads like that, when you know somebody's low at Estus and they use miracles to heal, it's good to keep an eye on that. And here, they're out of Estus, or at least the Sunbro is, so they're probably making a break for the next bonfire. You've got the blue behind you. You've got to make a decision. You're out of Estus. You could go after the party. I think staying here to fight the blue is absolutely the right call. You've got the knights here to help you out. If you go after the party, the problem is the blue most likely will run behind you, and then you've got a 3v1 on your hands again with no Estus. I understand letting the party go can be difficult in these circumstances, but I do think going after the blue is the right decision. So I'm not sure why the blue came over here, if he thought maybe there was a shortcut of sorts over here that he could use to catch up to the party and bypass the knights. I'm certainly not aware of any shortcut like that, though. Like, maybe I'm missing something, but I think he has to go through here. Quick step against your greatsword is actually a reasonable strategy, but he's not that good at it. And right here, you get an awesome set of reads, really nice mix-ups. That is a tough combo for most players to handle if they're not accustomed to facing that kind of offhand weapon setup, and you executed it brilliantly. I thought that was really fantastic. And so you were able to put him away, get yourself 2 more Estus, which I thought was really smart. You know, and if I were the host in that situation and I really wanted to be a dick, as I ran back to the bonfire, I probably would have Black Crystalled the blue out. I'm not saying you should do that, but from an optimal play perspective, that probably would have been the thing to do, because now you're at full health with 2 Estus, whereas you would have been coming down here with no Estus to try to finish them off. Incidentally, I think right here is where the Ultra can really shine, especially when you combo it with the shorter offhand weapon to force rolls. And here, obviously, because of the hyper armor, because of the damage, he's panicking. You're able to put him away quickly. Very nice job. Okay, so our next submission is from Nobody. I'll have a link to his channel in the description below. This is Nobody. It looks like pretty much a standard Deprived starter build, maybe with a couple additional levels in Strength, Endurance, and Vigor. I think Deprived starts with 10s across the board. Not, again, a good evaluator of builds, but given that it's pretty close to starter, you don't have a lot of options. I like the idea of the battle axe and the short sword, especially the way that you're dual wielding it. I think that's a pretty reasonable setup. The short sword is actually pretty good too, and I think you get the two-handed pokes with it, unlike the long sword where you get the sweeping motion, and I think the pokes are better. So short sword rather, is actually, I think, a pretty good choice in this sort of a situation, though I imagine you do give up a bit of reach, but it's always hard to know how much reach you're giving up just by looking. The actual hitboxes on these things don't always correspond to what the models would lead you to believe. So anyway, I've used the short sword and I am a fan of it as well. I think anybody who dry fingers here at high wall with like a normal build, normal gear, is in for a roller coaster. Obviously, twinks love to hang out here and prey on newer players. They typically have really optimized builds, dark hands, cestus parries. I'm sure we all are familiar with the litany of ways that players like to play here, invaders do. Some of them will adjust to players without good gear or players that are new. Many of them will not. The Hornet Ring, especially nobody with your build here, is such an enormous threat to you because you're pretty much going to get one shot if anybody parries you. Nice spacing there. I really like that spacing. You use a lot of back steps, I noticed. I'm not such a fan of the back steps, though you do integrate it into your play nicely. So I'm a little on the fence. It definitely causes you to get caught out sometimes, and we'll talk about that a little bit more here coming up. So I think you show some appropriate caution here. But notice you guys go into mutual hit stun. He's got the cestus out. I would say with 90% probability, he is going to parry out of hit stun. So if it were me, I would be running for his back as soon as I come out of hit stun in an attempt to get the parry. Now it looks like he may be parrying unlocked and kind of moving his body around specifically to thwart parry attempts like that. And there you did the back step and you got punished for it. I would definitely think about that back step. And I also notice you're doing a lot of rolling out of kind of neutral, like right there. And see, because you don't have a parry tool out and you've shown you're probably not going to attack out of hit stun, it's kind of a free attack for him and he gets to kind of naturally roll catch you. I would avoid the rolling to reset. Try to focus more on pure reaction rolling in those situations. Crossbow, I mean, even the crossbow is doing like 10% of your health each time. I would also be a little wary of how you're doing whiff punishes. Like a true whiff punish, getting them in the recovery frames is great, but if you're attacking them outside the recovery frames, that can start to get a little predictable and you run the risk of getting parried. Of course, at these low levels, everybody gets parried because people will throw them out there so relentlessly. And see right there, you were swinging outside of his recovery frame, so he knows, like here, he catches you and he gambles that you're going to attack out of hit stun. He makes the bet and he bets correctly. But the thing is, he can throw so many of those out for almost no reason. And there, you made the mistake of rolling on wake up. You got to really watch that and try to roll on reaction. Now, he had a crossbow, which makes it more difficult because he could have gone to the crossbow, and that would have been more difficult to roll. But I would still emphasize when you wake up after a parry or you get backstabbed, always try to reaction roll in those situations. So here we are, the same invader again. I notice you're using a lot of jumping attacks. Personally, I generally avoid those. And see here, he's panic rolling. You hit him once, he rolled out a hit stun. I would try to pay more attention to things like that and learn from it. Pay attention to what your opponent does. You could have gotten a roll catch there. Obviously, you need to exercise some caution because other players will predict your roll catches and try to parry you. QY actually did that to me the other day in a spear fight. So you got to temper that. It's just all about trusting your mix-ups. And here's another great example. You go for a jumping attack. He spaces it. He doesn't roll. And then you back roll. Now, you could have gotten fooled by the bundle, which is actually one of the things bundles are good for, is forcing rolls because people react to the motion. But that can set you up to get roll caught in the future. So think about, in those situations, again, just trying to reaction roll rather than predictive roll. I think you did a good job of anticipating that crossbow bolt and rolling. So he had that very useful crossbow. There, I think that he might have gotten a partial. I'm always wary of relying on that and starting to spam. But when you see him switch away from the crossbow has a lot of utility. The only reason he's going to switch away is because he's thinking about parrying you. So when you see that switch, I would think about trying to go for his back. And that was a nice roll catch there. Very nicely done. And there you were wary of the whiff punish, which I think was smart. Trying to mix it up. You could try running for people's backs more often. It is risky. Nice punish there. You anticipated the parry. I am more aggressive about that, and especially if you have a shield out, you can be safer about those sorts of punishes, where if they do swing, you're reasonably protected. He's probably got so much more Estus than you do. You don't have your Estus upgraded at all. And I don't know if you're like hanging out here on the regular, but if so, I would give serious thought to upgrading even a single Estus level. It's got such a huge impact. Nice win there. It looked like you unlocked at the end. I think that was smart. Even one Estus upgrade level in conjunction with your Estus ring would be a huge improvement. Again, assuming you're hanging out here and not actually, just playing through normally. So players like this, man, oh my god, they're just the absolute cancer of Dark Souls. Dark Hand spammer, Cestus parry spammer. This guy has no notion of timing or spacing or anything like that. He's just going to use brute force to overwhelm you with his incredible damage output, his defenses. He's got the I think that's the Ring Knight armor, which provides excellent defenses. I'm sure he's got all endgame rings, endgame Estus. He's just going to keep throwing parries out there and hope that he gets lucky. And players like this always will eventually get lucky. I noticed when you go one-handed to the straight sword, he's going to throw parries out after every 2R1. So what I would be doing in that situation, if I hit him with 2R1s, immediately start running for his back. If you think that's too dangerous, throw out 2R1s and stand and wait just a beat for him to parry, and then you can go ahead and come in and hit him with another 2-1s, at which point he will probably parry again, and you can just repeat the cycle and just keep punishing him. He's really getting in your face, which is making it hard to space out his Dark Hand. And I don't think your shield can parry. He totally deserved that point down. Well done, man. Nice job. So our final submission is from Trevor. This is a 125 Pontiff meta invasion build. I think overall I like the build. Couple things that jumped out at me. One, you don't have the prisoner's chain. I don't know how big a deal that is at 125. I'd be curious to hear what other people think. I also noticed if this is accurate here, your Cestus is only at +1. The regen scales with the upgrade. So I think it's worth taking up to at least +9 if you don't want to blow a slab on it. I don't know that there is a difference between +9 and +10. But other than that, I really don't have much to say about the build. Invading at Pontiff is obviously extremely challenging. You've got two players here that are waiting for invaders. When I see two players that are kind of ganking together, to me, that bespeaks confidence in their skills. When you see squads with like 3 and 4 players, that usually means that they're not all that good and they need those numbers to be competitive here. When I see 2 players, they're going to frequently be in like a 3v2 situation, so they've got more confidence in their ability to PvP, and that's a read that I would make coming into this fight. So the host looks to be in Laps with Heralds, most likely Dark Infused. That is an incredibly dangerous build. The weapon art will delete you, has so much poise. I think kind of chilling here for a moment and waiting for backup is really the right choice. It's a huge adjustment, quite frankly, to invade here. At least it's been for me. You have to approach invasions in a different way. You have to recalibrate your expectations. You have to try to take things away from invasions other than simple wins and losses. Right there, that's a good piece of information. He just tried to pivot that blue. That speaks of skill. That's something that you're going to want to keep an eye on. This white Phantom obviously likes to go for parries. That was nearly a backstab. Right here, he's at very low health. He's going to go into instant defense mode. What I would do is immediately go to one-handed mode and try to chase him down with my offhand. That third R1 there from the Greatsword cost you putting him away. Now, because this is meta, you're still able to quickly get on him. You almost got a backstab there. He's playing with fire the way he keeps rolling into you. That's really dangerous to do. And only because of his latency was he able to escape there. Nice read on the parry. Nice way to wait on it and try to punish him. Fortunately, parry spamming at these levels will get you punished. It will get you killed. Now for a host, they can get away with it more because of their huge Estus reservoir, but for a regular Phantom, they can't really get away with that. Now, of course, he'll just get resummoned, but you will get some alone time with the host. I like the two-handed Claymore here just because you punish his parry whiff so much more. I'd watch your reaction rolls a little bit, and for the ring swapping, I'm a huge fan of aggressive ring swapping, but especially something like the Silver Cat, I would say you should have probably swapped it out before you even came down here. You can always swap back to it if you have to chase them up onto the rafters, but right now it's just costing you a lot of value. And I would also say that on the occasions, first of all, this is really nice. I really like that punish on the host. That was a really nice way to pay attention. And here, if you're into roll backstabs, this would have been an ideal situation for it. This Phantom is committing to a really long attack. It's easily readable. I would have definitely thought about going for the roll backstab. Nice backstab there. Nice way to punish his predictable parries and the way that he rolls into you. I really like that a lot. So I think the real threat here is the host. The host is obviously way more skilled than the Phantom. He's got a ton more Estus. There he blew all of his stamina. Well, we'll talk about this in a little bit. I think he's obviously paying attention. He saw you coming up behind him and was able to catch you off guard. I don't think you make that mistake again. I think you learn from that, which is great. He tries to do it a few more times, and I don't think he gets you again. I also like the way you coordinated with the other invaders. You basically put yourself in the task of flanking him constantly and letting them do most of the attacking, and I think that was absolutely the right thing to do. I was really impressed. And see, here he goes to the dagger, and sure as shit, there's the pivot. Here, I would have probably gone for a kick. Silly Dog made a video about just this problem when one of your co-invaders is in trouble. And I think the Aldrich, actually went for a kick as well, which speaks well of him. So that's a way that you can kind of try to stop them. Unfortunately, he's resummoning, which is kind of expected in this situation. And watch this here. The other red uses blue Estus. You know this guy's going to go and try to pivot him. I would have actually tried to run behind where you know the host is going to be, and you could have gotten a nifty backstab there if you had noticed that. So you see him go to the Cestus. We're going to see him do it here again in a minute, two-handed, and it's almost certainly an indication that he wants to heal. But if you stay right on him, like see right here, he switches over to the Cestus. This is a clue. You can run up right behind him, stay right on his nuts, and then wait for that moment that he pops Perseverance and then get a backstab on him. Like, I probably wouldn't have even tried to get that backstab there. I would have just tried to stay on him and punish that Perseverance. The good thing is your other invaders are holding their own. They're taking pressure off of you, and it also means that the host is not replenishing his Estus, and that is really key. Overall here, I really like your approach. I like what you're doing. I would have probably gone one-handed more often, especially against the host. He's got way more poise than you. The greatsword is just slowing you down in those situations. And there you did a nice job of reading the incoming pivot attempt and frustrating it by moving out. That was very nicely done. And there you read that he was going to turn around and attack you. That was also very nicely done. And here you see the Phantom's in trouble, so you come in to help, which I think was really smart. You wait for the parry attempt. You might try to be a bit more aggressive in trying to actually backstab that, though against a Cestus that can be quite difficult to do. And of course the host has got the rapier out. He's looking to fish. He does a pretty good job here. Nice punish on the red. Nice parry. I think one roll catch, two roll catches, I think absolutely was the right choice not to go for a third there. Even though you would have gotten it, the risk of him trying to parry your roll catch attempt was simply too high, and I think it was the smart thing to do not to go for a third. Doing a great job here flanking, keeping pressure on him, letting the other invaders take swings at him, and just kind of corralling him. And that was a nice backstab. I don't know if that was intentional. Here, I would definitely keep Undead Hunter Charms on you. It ended up not mattering, but they can be really effective. Very nice invasion. Thanks, everybody, for the submissions. Take care now.